Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to Geek Out in Old Town Burleson. As always, I am your favorite bearded hero, and I have a new sidekick. Well, another sidekick. Chandler's not gone; he's just not here today.
Working on it.
This for those of y'all who haven't been in the store recently, this is one of our newest team members, Miss Emery, and she is very similar to myself, a horror movie nut and expert, and so we have decided to hijack the Tuesday night show. So Tuesday Night Treasures is being replaced by the Charles and Emory show. So we will still do the good old. Here's the new Marvel books and the new Independence, and we'll talk about some of the horror books more intensely, and then we will also go over the collectibles. And then after that, kind of like me and Chandler do the comic book stuff, we will do horror movies, maybe a sci-fi in there. We'll see. Yeah, we're having to wear headsets tonight, which is a little bit different than usual because we do have a special guest. So we are actually going to skip the Tuesday Night Treasures portion. I said we weren't going to, but we're going to tonight, but only tonight because we have a special guest, Mr. Paul Gomez. He is a local comic book writer, and he has put out a few very exceptional books that I have read. We got some of his stuff last year, and it sold like hotcakes, and I wasn't able to find him again to be able to order more from him. And I re-met him over at Cowtown Comic Con a couple of weeks ago, which me and Chandler were talking about us being extremely tired from back-to-back conventions. And Mr. Paul, we got a restock on his comics, and we have him coming to sit down and talk with us tonight. So without further ado, let me bring in Mr. Paul Gomez.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
How you doing tonight, Paul?
I'm doing great. I love your intro. As a matter of fact, I've always wanted to try that on the stream. The whole hello, boys and girls kind of thing. I just never have.
Man, it's a nice way to grab people. It's
Right.
fun. And whenever you can be loud and silly and obnoxious, some reason people kind of like that. And whenever they don't, but whatever. But yeah, absolutely. Figure out a catchphrase. I stole my catchphrase from a wrestler from the 1990s. So
Yeah.
I mean, who else can you pick for being loud and obnoxious? But
Right.
Yeah. So Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Well, my name is Paul Gomez. I'm a brand new writer and creator of comics. In the past year, I put out 4 comics, including PTSD, which was my first, Cryptic Haze, which was my third, my second, and my fourth are Bushibu Issue 1 and Issue 2. That's my flagship title right there that I worked with my kids to put together, as a matter of fact. And like I tell most people, it's just one of those things that kind of came together out of the situation, I guess. And here I am.
And what was the situation that made you decide to start writing?
Well, I mean, everything was closing down with everything that had just happened, and I had lost my job, and the kids were out of school. We were all stuck at the house, and I wanted to keep the morale up. And one of the ways I was doing that was try to get them off video games and socially active together. And I decided to start writing stories with them. I had just introduced my twins, which were 12 at the time, to comic books, and whenever we started writing the stories, it kind of couldn't progress to like books because we got dyslexia, me and my twins do. So they were like, hey, why not make them comics? And that's what we did.
Awesome.
No, fantastic. Yeah. Actually, I think that's a great way to, translate your stories into something that works for both you and your family.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
Yeah, that was one of the things. It was like they were looking at all these new comics, and they were like, there's tons of all ages comics, and then there's tons of mature comics, but they were like, where's the stuff really aimed for the teenagers? And that was kind of one of my objectives whenever we were putting Bushibu together. It was like we wanted to put something a little bit more mature than all ages, but could also relate to the mature audience as well. So it was like something we wanted to do together.
Awesome. So, Bushibu, tell us about
Sure.
Bushibu Circus Mysteries.
Yeah.
I have read these. These are really fun. Bit of a goofy name, but
Yes.
they are. It is a really cool murder mystery, really enjoyable, and spoiler alert, but not real spoilerly. Does set you up to be excited for the next story arc from Bushibu. So tell us about that. Tell us about how you got there on that one, and whatever you want to tell us, man.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, me and my kids got together, and this was really the first script that I wrote. But it was the second book that came out because I had problems with my interior artist. So we were sitting down in a room, and I was like, let's put some stories together. They were throwing out some great stuff left and right. One of my twins threw out an idea of a gigantic mutant rat that was protecting New York City, and I was like, that's very interesting, but not exactly kind of my style. So I was like, we kept hammering it out, and they were like, let's do Wizard Harry Potter. And I was like, well, it's been done before. So let's see what we can encompass Harry Potter into something else. And they also wanted to do Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I was like, well, we can do an ensemble cast, but let's think of a unique background or something that you don't see. We were loving watching The Greatest Showman at that time too. And they kind of watched that movie over and over. So it was like, why not put a circus theme behind it? And that's where we went from that.
Awesome.
No, I really, really enjoyed reading Bushibu Circus, actually. I thought it was amazing, like the different intrigue, how you were able to meld in all the different storylines, all the characters were interesting. I was telling Charles earlier, I really love a story where you got characters that you can kind of hate for. You know,
Right.
you have a lot of stories, especially outside of the horror genre or the psychological genre, where it's like really easy to feel for the characters, but not
Right.
really hate.
Right. And that was definitely one of the things we wanted to do whenever we were assembling that ensemble cast. We wanted those people that you were going to like, but then there were some that you didn't like as well. One of the other things I wanted to do was make sure that I was bringing in other cultures. If you notice, Dulé, is a black man from the Louisiana kind of area. And then in the second issue, I've got a Native American who's a sharpshooter. So I was kind of trying to bring in a little bit of different, as well as making sure that you kind of meld with the characters. One of the one thing that I wanted to do was that attractiveness of the tigers, because I thought they were beautiful characters in it.
Oh yes, I when I saw the twin tigers,
Yeah.
the one of the characters. I don't want to talk too much like specifics on the story
Right.
because I don't want to spoil anything. But when the tiger tamer came back to the circus and she was like her babies, I was like, oh, she has babies. And I saw the tigers, I was like, yes, she has babies.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
bringing a lovable animal character, especially ones as fearsome and cool as
Yeah.
that definitely added to the comics and made them even more likable.
Yeah.
I loved the mystery aspect to it as far as the who done it kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was very easy for me to get swayed in one way or another, like, oh, you know what, they definitely did it, and then I'd hear a little bit more into the story like, oh no, they definitely did it, and then you start to develop it to the point where in the second issue you find out who really done it.
Right.
And I love the satisfaction of that ending that you put there, and
Right.
how it kind of transitions into, oh, there's going to be more of the bringing back into the other character storylines and kind
Yeah.
of giving you that little tidbit, the hint at the end, like, oh, there's more though. Made me
Yeah.
super excited.
Yeah, and the thing about it was, whenever I was doing this 2-part issue, I wanted that first half to be that introductory where we saw who those suspects were and we were introduced to them. I was a big fan of like Perry Mason and stuff whenever I was growing up. So seeing Perry Mason, it didn't show who that killer was till like that last minute. And I was like, I could have never guessed that. If you watch CSI, kind of does that as well. And it's like, what I want to do is put a book out there where you know that the suspects are going to be thrown out soon, so you can kind of figure and guess and make assumption of who it is and know that they're there. That's why I wanted to do this in a 2-parter. So you could have those 6 suspects and go into that second issue going, I know exactly who it is. And then you find out that the way they go through one character to another.
I love that aspect to it, and I especially I kind of see that theme almost like overlapping in your storytelling with the other stories. I definitely see like as far as like character building, especially when it comes to the main characters and the other two, because those are more like singularly focused individuals. You have an idea of where the story's going, and then suddenly like that last minute twist. I love that, and you do that so well in these. Like I was a huge fan of Cryptic Haze. I had to read it like 3 times through just to like get it at first, and I was like, this is incredible. Like it was a fun read at the end of the day. As dark as it was.
Being a new writer and creator, I wanted to put a library out there to show my range a little bit. And the difference between PTSD, where it was a one shot, so I had to kind of compact that story into 22 pages, where Bushibu was 33 pages for that first issue, and then 32 pages for the second. So that's 65 pages to put a story together. You have so much room, so much able to draw and show the characters and how they're moving along. Where Cryptic Haze again was 22 pages for that first issue, but it's going to be 3 issues long. But it's going to be 3 different stories that kind of meld in together.
Oh, okay. See, I was definitely going to ask that because with Bushibu, it was a clear like to be continued there. PTSD definitely had a very like solid resolution to it, and then with Cryptic Haze, I wasn't sure. There's definitely room for there to be more, and I'm very excited to read this next issue.
Yeah, with Cryptic Haze, I love that old TV show. It was Friday the 13th. Where they were going from one story to another, and even though they were separate stories, they kind of melded into each other with at least one character or so, and that's kind of where I was going.
Yeah, Emory, are you old enough to remember that? I know you're not old enough to remember it, but you know about the Friday the 13th TV show?
The TV show?
Yeah. With the antique?
Okay.
Yeah.
I might be a little on the young side, but I was raised right.
I had to check because it didn't really pick up a lot in syndication over the years. It's not one of those ones that a lot of people know about, and a lot of people like. I used to watch it every Saturday night, like as it came on.
It was greatly executed, and don't get me wrong, I love Twilight Zone and the Outer Limits and stuff like this. But that Friday the 13th show kind of did something a little bit different with their stories, and that's what I was going for with Cryptic Haze.
I like that a lot. And I love that's the inspiration, because usually stuff that comes from like that root of Friday the 13th, it's developed into a lot of great like horror anthology series that we see today, and I think this can definitely fit easily into one of the great ones out there as far as like the stories that have come from that. So I loved it.
I'll be honest, like I got super busy and did not get a chance to read Cryptic Haze. I was planning to. But it's the only one of yours that I haven't read. But based on everything else that I've read, I absolutely I can't wait to actually get a chance to read it. So Cryptic Haze, awesome anthology. Bushibu Circus Mysteries, awesome mystery thriller style. And the last book you have out is PTSD, which was your first release.
Which was my first book, yes.
And I will say that this book, taking such a subject as delicate as PTSD, this book hurts.
Yes.
In the way that it's supposed to. It makes you feel things, and it's a really solid depiction of PTSD, which we talked about. I've talked about with you in the past, and it's surprising that you're not a veteran because of the way that you actually are able to address PTSD. Because I know a lot. I'm a vet. I've dealt with a lot of that stuff, and know a lot of people that have. So tell us about PTSD. Tell us about how you got where you got with PTSD.
And before we get into that, thank you for your service. Starting out with that project, I was stalled with Bushibu Circus, and I had some interior artists kind of drop out, and I had to either basically double down or just kind of like take a step back from comics at that time. So I decided to double down with PTSD. And originally I was working on another script that was called Flame, and I wanted to talk about mental illness. And it was because me and my kids were locked up into the house, and there were so many problems coming up at that time with the pandemic going on. I had my oldest son in the house had caught COVID, and he had gotten a collapsed lung from it. and he was stuck in this room where he was scared that he was going to get everybody sick. And so I was sitting in his doorway for days, weeks, and trying to explain to him, we're going to get through this, but we got to talk about it. In that same time frame, I had a few other kids go through a lot of mental trauma. My daughter was cutting herself, and we didn't know about it until later. My son had got diagnosed with diabetes, which was really traumatic for a teenager of his age. And I was going through a bit of a divorce with my wife, who was very depressive, kind of, and I knew she was dealing with it, and I was trying to help her, but she was kind of pushing against it. So I really wanted to talk about mental illness. And whenever I was writing this other script, it felt like a Saturday morning or a Monday morning show kind of thing, afternoon program, where it was preaching a little bit, but it was unique in a different way. And me and my editor sat down, I believe it was on Veterans Day of that year, and Memorial or Veterans, I think Memorial. And we decided to take a break from comics because we were talking about comics daily. And he's like, I want to talk about family members who have served. And we just enjoyed the day talking about our family members, past and present, who have served in the military and have done such great things. I've got an aunt who's retired Army, and I've got a few uncles that were in the military. And so because of that day, basically that next week, I put that script Flame on hold. Well, technically, I told myself I'm going to complete this one. But this other idea came to me, which was PTSD. And I was like, if I'm going to talk about mental illness, why not talk about one of the biggest ones that there are, and the ones that's most notable, which is PTSD. So I started writing down the outline of the story, and I started doing studying into it. Yeah, I had a few friends recommend a few books to me, and I started going on Google and just looking up the, symptoms of PTSD and how people go to counseling for it and how they'd be counseled for it, and just several things. I was looking into it, and whenever I was putting everything that my family was dealing with and everything that I was researching, I basically had poured into this book, and this was a story that basically came out of it all.
That's amazing, actually, and it really shows the amount of research and the firsthand experience that you poured into it, just with how well it was written, like Charles had said earlier, and I fully agree. The way you depicted PTSD within the comic was just fantastic. It was very realistic. It was very scary. You could feel the characters' anxieties. You could feel their stress. You could feel their frustration with themselves and with those around them. The just overall storytelling as it continues, and just the build up towards the major parts of the story were just very, very well written. And Charles was saying earlier, he having a firsthand experience himself, that it was very realistic and heartfelt telling.
Yeah, and I wanted to tell a story that was kind of a little bit, how do you say it? I wanted a hard knock kind of story. I didn't want to coddle the subject, because I felt like if I was coddling the subject or too soft with it, that I wasn't doing it enough justice. And I know whenever a few people seen it, they would say, this is the kind of story that goes in comics. And I'm like, but this is the kind of story that should be out there so people can talk about this subject. And that was the reason that I had put it out there.
Yeah, it's I like I said earlier, I absolutely love the book, and I will say you do have some mighty fine artists working on this. PTSD and Cryptic Case have the same artist.
Yes,
has a very Charlie Adler style vibe to it, which it's very beautiful artwork, very solid, and just very intense and evoking just artwork. It's just great. I definitely recommend it. We do have multiple. We have plenty of copies of PTSD, Bushibu, and Bushibu. Honestly, And I told you that I've talked to you about this. I feel that it falls very much in vein of like a Xenoscope style book.
Mhm.
Right.
Very bright, very shiny, very hard contrast from PTSD and Cryptic Haze.
Yeah.
But still a very solid, very wonderful story.
Thank you.
As a whole, all three of the different titles that you have right now are very, very quality, very enjoyable, and I love having them on the shelf because PTSD the first round we sold out like hotcakes. Bushy Boo, same thing. Really solid storytelling. Can't wait to see more. You did send me some information over on something else. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure, but before we go on to that, I did have a special for some of your customers. I don't know if I told you. I wanted to go ahead and give away a copy of PTSD, and if you can look down here, right here, you can see it's actually double signed, not only by me, but by that cover artist, Jeff Muth.
Awesome.
That's
And
exciting.
I'm definitely going to give that to your store to hand out as a giveaway or a prize, any way you'd like. And I just wanted to kind of let you know on this broadcast here.
Oh,
Awesome. We appreciate that, man.
I want it. Is that cheating if I get it?
Definitely cheap.
Oh.
But next time Paul comes in, I'll make sure that we get some audio.
Oh yes,
Not a
I'm
problem.
not gonna
Be a
Of course
double
I'm
honor.
not gonna
Now, whenever I was at Cowtown and came and saw you, you have a handful of variants for some of these books.
Yes.
You have a few of your variants
Ooh.
that we'll have on display later this week. But Ariel Diaz did
Yes.
cover, and I got mine double signed by him and Ariel. So
Yeah, I'd like to mention that I tried whenever I started this, it was I had lost my job, so I wanted to try to get local people because I know it was hard on everybody around here, and I'm not to say that it wasn't hard on everybody else, but I wanted to help my community. So about 75% of the people working on my projects were from Texas or were from the surrounding area. Most of my cover artists, I originally got an artist for Bushy Boo, who was the first interior artist, was from Austin, and unfortunately he dropped out. But the point was I was trying to kind of lift the local community, and that's one of the things I did. Like you said, Ariel Diaz is one of the artists, and she's around here. Ken Salinas is a great artist. He does that voodoo cover on issue 1. I believe there's Lisa Miller's cover on issue 2, and that's her first cover ever, and she's from around here as well.
Oh,
So
wow.
I definitely try to do that for the community and some of my fellow artists around here.
Look, y'all, support your local artists, support your local storytellers. Come get these comics.
Yeah.
You won't regret it
Yeah.
at all.
So we were talking about that other project, and I don't really know when I'm going to start it or not because I've been having an itch to get to Bushy Boo issue 3. But the other project I just referred to currently as Prelude whenever I'm talking about it. And this project is a very unique one because whenever I started PTSD, I started talking to the artist, the interior, San Espina, and he did Cryptic Haze with me. So I spent so much time with him. I started asking him, what do you like about comics? What kind of comic would you like? And I drew so much inspiration from our conversations because it was such a length of time that we were dealing with each other that he started telling me what he enjoyed. And I started writing a script that I didn't feel like I would have written otherwise. And it felt so different when I was writing it. But whenever I got to the end, I realized that this was probably the best script that I wrote. And I kind of feel that way at the moment. It's a very unique and different script from all the other ones, very action packed, but it definitely does have a little bit of those twists that are kind of put in there. And because of that collaboration with him, I've actually had offers to buy this script, which is kind of surprising because most people don't buy scripts just as they are before the art. But I've told these people, I've tried to make a deal with them and said, if you're going to buy this script, he's got to do the art because it was written for him. Mm-hmm. And usually it was one of those reasons that I didn't sell it. And I'm still talking to him every once in a while saying, we're going to get to the script soon. and really looking forward to doing some unique things with it.
Can I say the
Sure.
big word of it?
Sure.
The big word. So it's two words.
Yeah, 2 words.
Okay, so 2 words. Gargoyles versus demons.
Yeah.
No.
And you don't see this. You don't see this in any of my comics.
No.
You don't really see that.
Oh.
And whenever, like I said, I was talking to this artist and he was telling me about what he liked about comics and what he wanted. It was so much different from what I was used to writing. So it was like, I don't see many of that kind of style out there. I mean, granted, the cartoon gargoyles.
I was just about to say, yeah.
But
no,
it's like,
but you don't see that much anymore. You know,
why?
That touched on, and it was amazing. It was a hit.
Yeah.
It was a hit.
Why don't you see it? I mean, you don't see circuses that much in comics, and
Right.
if you do see them, they're all like big, huge monster scares kind of thing. You don't see that story behind it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't see gargoyles out there, and to put them against demons and a unique story behind it, it like I said, after I wrote the script, I realized it was very unique.
I'm so excited.
I might let you read it. Can I let her read it?
Sure.
Sure. So yeah, I'm really excited about you moving forward on that soon, hopefully, and Bushi Boo 3. So, is there anything else you want to tell us about? Anything else you want to talk about before we say goodbye for the day?
Well, I mean, besides Prelude, I'm working on another one with my cover artist, Jeff Mute. He's a cover artist for PTSD, the red cover, and the blue cover for Cryptic Haze. He came to me and he had some art for a comic that he wanted to do, but he was like, I love your story so much. Can you put a story behind this? And again, this is something that I wasn't used to doing. He came to me with kind of, and I really can't tell you much, but I can say it's like what are they called? Original monsters, classic monsters. Okay. So it's kind of in that vein with his unique twist and my unique twist behind that. Working on that script, and we're going ahead with that.
Awesome! I can't wait to see more stuff from you. As always, I enjoy talking to you. For everybody out there, PTSD, Bushi Boo Circus Mysteries, issue 1 and 2, and Cryptic Haze, issue 1. All available here at Geek Out by Mr. Paul Gomez. They're all beautifully written books, very entertaining, lots of fun, great interiors. I can't say that I enjoyed them. I mean, honestly, I enjoy them, and I hope that we get to see more from you soon.
Definitely.
I appreciate you coming on and spending some evening. I know it's a little bit late for normal.
No problem at all.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming and seeing us, Paul.
Thanks for having me.
Have a wonderful evening, and I'll talk to you soon about the feedback that I have for you on Prelude.
And like I said, this week I'll be dropping this off for you.
Awesome. Yeah. Whenever you come by, I'll be here Wednesday and Friday, and I'll be here on Saturday also. So
I'm going to be out of town. I wanted to shake his hand.
Okay. Do you work tomorrow?
No, but I'll come in if he comes by tomorrow. No pressure.
But yeah, man, I greatly appreciate you for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
Tell your son I said hey, and I appreciate it. He's his sidekick whenever he goes to conventions.
He dresses up like Lance.
Oh, it's nice.
Dresses up, helps bagboard, hand stuff out. Yeah. So, awesome kid. He came in the other day whenever he came to chat about Prelude and some other stuff. Yeah. So I look forward to seeing y'all again soon, my friend.
Definitely. We'll talk to you soon. Y'all have a great night. Thanks again for having me.
All right. That was Paul Gomez. Great writer, really nice, really cool guy. He's one of those people where if I don't stop us from talking, we will sit here and talk all night.
I was ready to.
we are trying to keep this into a fairly tight show because me and Emory can go off on tangents with horror movies like me and Chandler do. So, but that's why I have the yellow sheet, because the yellow sheet keeps us contained.
You follow the thought process, the flow. It's not going too many
flows.
different tangents. I got you.
So tonight, me and Emory, for the first time, are going to, for the first time on the show, for the Emory and Charles show, clever name later, will come. But we are going to, a day late, discuss Halloween.
Halloween.
The drastically rebooted, retconned, repetitive, who even knows what's canon anymore Halloween. For those of you that are not insane like us, Halloween has 5 different canonical timelines, technically.
5?
Yeah. Well, 4 or 5. It depends, because Season of the Witch has nothing to do with Michael Myers.
Nothing.
But it still could
And
potentially
it's in
be
the same universe.
It's in the same universe, or
Yeah.
it's in an alternate universe, because
But
in
same storyline universe type of
which we'll
thing.
touch on this later.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're going to go through and we're going to discuss. There are, so of the main timelines, you have the Loomis timeline,
Mhm.
you have the Laurie timeline,
Mhm.
then you have the Laurie 2 timeline,
Mhm.
then you have the Rob Zombie timeline, which counts.
It's fun.
It's fun. And then you have, like we said, the Halloween 3 timeline, because something that happens in Halloween 3, it obviously is not in the same universe, but they still acknowledge the existence of Michael Myers. So it all started on October 25th, 1978. Well, I mean, it didn't start then, because that was the day that the first Halloween movie came out. By John Carpenter, written, directed, produced. John Carpenter, partially stand-in actor. I mean, John Carpenter did like so much, and it is a classic. We all know the story. Little boy goes upstairs, stabs sister while she's and then fast forward to,
walks outside and standing there with his little knife,
like crazy little kids do.
Yeah.
Hey, here, let's do this. Since we're not listening to anybody, talk about your pieces.
You are so right.
And we'll ask Jason, can you still hear us? Because Jason's here. Jason's the faithful. Can you hear us, Jason? Can you hear us, Jason? Jason? Okay, cool. All right, no headsets. So we had to wear earpieces because we couldn't hear Paul talking. Right. But now that we don't have to hear anybody else talking, we just have to hear each other talking. No more headpieces.
Yeah, I don't have to have my awkward.
Yeah.
That was getting to me.
It was a last minute solution because I didn't think about it. We're not used to having guests on the show, so it was a little bit of a curveball.
Hopefully more of that, though. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. But okay, so Halloween, little boy kills sister. Fast forward 16 years, and crazy killer breaks out of asylum, and Dr. Loomis heads home, and he kills whoever he finds there. Mm-hmm. We've all seen it. We all know it. He got shot 6 times. No, that's the second one. They got shot 6 times.
Yeah,
that was the first one. Yeah, the first one. I got shot 6 times. And stabbed. Much like with a spoiler alert. The only one of these that is a legitimate spoiler alert, because these movies are older than me at this point, which is old for movies. They're like 40 plus years old, 44 years old for the first Halloween. Yes. But spoiler alert, we're going to tell you stuff. And then whenever we get to the one that's only about 3 weeks old, we're going to tell you stuff too.
Yeah, I'm going to have to talk about it.
So, spoilers. First one, he gets shot 6 times, which the reason why I keep repeating that is because Dr. Loomis keeps repeating that in the second one and in that one. And it's a classic. We all love it. It's really hard to beat the classic slasher. It was not over the top gore and crazy. It was a very tight, very solid story, and that's why it's still popular and very watchable now. It gave us a lot of our slasher tropes that there's lots of things that we wouldn't be doing in movies right now if it wasn't for Halloween 1978. So we don't need to talk a whole lot about that because we all have seen it 1,000 times.
Exactly.
The second movie in the Loomis timeline and in the Laurie 1 timeline is Halloween 2, which was released on October 30th, 1981. Now, I will say this, releasing a Halloween movie the week of Halloween, while it is very much on brand, it doesn't really give you a lot of chance to make that Halloween money. I mean, these movies were really profitable. I'm not saying they weren't.
Yeah.
But you kind of needed that point of a few weeks at least.
I mean,
especially during this time period.
Okay, yeah, and I'll give you that on the time period. I'd say, like, as far as like nowadays, when it comes to franchises like Halloween, where it's so centered, there's horror movies that aren't as centered around Halloween. That you want to get, you can do it anywhere, probably make better profits doing it away from Halloween. But with it being centered around Halloween, and especially given its like reputation being Halloween, you'd want to release it around Halloween, because that's gonna definitely become a traditional like horror family, like we have to go see the new Halloween, it comes out on Halloween, like what else are we gonna do for Halloween, go trick-or-treating?
Sidebar, I remember Friday the 13th, the reboot, whenever it came out, I was actually working an off-duty job in a movie theater, so we were having to keep all of the underage kids from going to Friday the 13th, but it came out on Friday the 13th in February, so the day before Valentine's Day. Oh my God, that was a nightmare to work that shift.
I bet.
But that doesn't make really much sense the Friday the 13th, yes, but at the same time, horror movies do much better in the Halloween-esque time frame. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's just one of those things. So Halloween 2, October 30th, 1981. A year older than me. Gives us the death of Loomis and Michael. And it establishes that Laurie Strode is Michael's sister, the baby that he didn't kill at the beginning of 1. That establishes that lore. That's really the only important things about that movie. I mean, it is a cookie cutter. It's not nearly as iconic as the first one.
No,
it's very cookie cutter, and
it does what it had to do.
It did. And John Carpenter and I forgot her name, the producer, they didn't want to do any more Michael Myers movies, so they literally killed off Loomis and Michael at the end of it.
That's why they did that.
Yeah, they want to be done with it. Like, they wanted Halloween to be an anthology. They wanted Halloween to every year come out with a new movie with new directors, but ultimately produced by them, and give us different stories. So they said, we're going to kill Michael Myers and Dr. Loomis, so we don't have to deal with Loomis and Myers anymore. That story is done.
That worked out so well for them.
Which is why the following year, on October 22nd, see, that's a little bit more room.
Yeah.
1982, approximately 4 days before I was born, we got the first of technically it would be the second of those anthology entries of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which has nothing to do with Michael Myers. He does have a brief cameo in one of the bars, I believe. There is a box TV that they are watching Halloween on. So that would tell us, because it wasn't like a news report, it was just they're watching Halloween. So that would tell us that it is a separate universe giving homage to that, so they acknowledge that it is a thing. So that would be our 5th Halloween timeline. But it's only one movie for that timeline. So there it is. Honestly, it has a huge cult following now. At the time, it did really poorly because everybody wanted a Michael Myers movie, and it's not a Michael Myers movie. But if you watch it on its own, if you just call it Season of the Witch, I mean, you got microchip. Okay, it's batshit crazy. I'm not going to tell you it's not. It's wacky, but it's better than people give it credit for. You got the microchip masks. You got a crazy old guy with stolen pieces of Stonehenge. They're doing Samhain rituals. Thanks for the negative stereotypes, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. And you've got a TV commercial that activates the killer masks and everyone around them, which is also just a commentary on the TV rots your brain, because it literally does.
But
there were androids in it.
I mean, so my thing about slashers in general, and especially Halloween, and I'll go deeper into my thoughts on it, like whenever we get to the newer movies, because like my thing about the hate on the newer movies is that people don't understand this concept. But slashers are camp, And the more camp they are, the better slasher it is, in my opinion. You know, and at the very least, they have to be camp. But if they're not like extremely camp, they can still be good. People can still like it. But I think like the campier you get, the more you're falling into line with the root of a slasher is. You know, you have a sometimes gory, sometimes not as gory, but like just a shock factor, like
dumb children doing things they shouldn't do, getting cut up in creative ways by somebody who was neglected in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like maybe like a deeper theme to it, a higher message, but it's going to be given to you in the weirdest,
don't do bad
silliest way possible, and that's exactly what makes a good slasher. So I enjoyed it.
You know what my favorite slasher kill is, and it's not even from Halloween. It's from Friday the 13th.
Really?
It's actually from Jason X, which is a terrible movie. At some point, we will do Friday the 13th.
Okay.
But the best slasher kill in all of slasher movies is he is on this. So Jason X, for those of you who don't know, is the 10th Jason movie, Friday the 13th movie, and it's in space in the future. It's super dumb.
So bad.
But he's on a holodeck and they're trying to distract him, and he stuffs a couple of late teenage girls, so 18-year old enough to be running around doing adult things, stuffs them in a sleeping bag and picks them up and holds them and just swings it against a tree and just beats them to death like that. And I'm sorry, but that is the goofiest shit ever, and every single time that makes me laugh. I mean, I can think of more quality kills, of course, but is there just more over the top, silly, goofy kill that can you think of one?
I can think of one. I can't think of the movie name at the moment. I thought it was Terrifier, and then I realized Terrifier because I was watching the second one, and I realized it wasn't this one. But it was the one where they take like a party guest and they turn him into a balloon animal in the pantry.
Okay.
A human balloon animal.
That I want to say is Clown.
It's definitely something.
Well, like I think it's Clown from Eli Roth's Clown.
Okay.
I think that's what that one is.
Yeah, I haven't seen.
Okay, that one is a good one. That is.
Beat that. But it was definitely out there. It was definitely out there.
The balloon animal dude or naked sorority girls getting in a sleeping bag. I'll let y'all. I don't think it's Killer.
Be biased.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I don't think it was that one.
No,
Killer Clown had
story.
Yeah, Killer Clowns had some really goofy stuff in it, but I don't remember it being that one. It might have been. We will go on a hunt and figure it out before the next episode.
Yeah, I'll let y'all know if I find it.
So, just like Halloween 3, we went on a wild tangent off of what we were talking about, and we'll come back to it. So, movie number 3 in the Loomis timeline. And this one is only in the Loomis timeline, unlike Halloween 2 that is in the Loomis and Laurie 1 timeline. We have Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers. And they had to put Return of Michael Myers in the title so people would go see it, because we went from October of 1982, making a movie that everyone hated, and it took until October of 1988 before we got another one, because people were so angry and getting a studio to pay money for something that Part 3 was anger-inducing, and now we're skipping Part 3 in canon, and we have to go back to Part 4. But so it's really Part 3, but it's not Part 3 because there was Part 3, and now it's Part 4. So, Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers, October 13th, 1988. This one, Michael Myers finds out that Laurie Strode had a child that she gave up for adoption. And now Michael Myers needs to go find his niece and kill her. Why? Because of reasons.
Michael Myers.
We don't know yet. So the normal craziness ensues. Michael Myers pops up, breaks loose from wherever, jail, insane asylum, wherever he's being kept between Part 2 and we thought he was dead. Remember, we thought he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
So he just pops up after finding out that he's been hiding this whole time. finds out he has a niece, needs to go kill his niece. Lynch mob tracks him down, throws him down a mine shaft. Little girl holds his hand before they do that, and there's some connection between the two, and you have an iconic scene where she stands at the top of the stairs in a clown outfit with his knife, kind of like Michael was at the beginning, and Loomis tries to kill her, and they don't let him, and it makes no sense. But you can pass on it. It's not canon anymore.
Yeah.
It's really freaking bad.
Yeah.
But it's not the worst one. Somehow, we'll get to that. But yeah, no. So it came back. It had better reviews than 3, of course, and because Michael Myers was back, it sold tickets during Halloween, which was on the 13th. So it had most of the month to get that Halloween money. So they threw him down a mine shaft. So a year later, Michael Myers has to come back with Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. God, names in the late 80s.
I like that it was to the point.
It was. And we knew it was there, and at least it established that we weren't going to run away from Michael Myers again.
Exactly.
So this is where we start to get really wacky. But the only thing that's established in this one that really matters is that now, Jamie, his little sweet niece, has a psychic connection to him.
Something in the blood, right?
Whatever. It's dumb. It's ridiculous. That's really the only thing that matters in that movie, is that she is psychically connected to him. There is a big open, like, we don't know what happened at the end of the movie. It literally, like, just kind of leaves it in question of what happened to Michael and Jamie and all of this. And then fast forward 6 years, because Revenge of Michael Myers did not do that great. So, because it was bad. So nobody wanted to give him money for a few years. But then they decided, let's try this again. It's been a little bit of time. But instead of doing something new and inventive, they just went back to the same story.
Yep.
And it got worse. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers.
This rough.
Yeah. So this one ends the Loomis timeline.
Yeah.
So Michael Myers and Jamie are abducted. That's what happened to them at the end of Halloween 5. We didn't know that, but we learned that at the beginning of Halloween 6. It's a 6-year time jump. So Jamie is now, now there's a 6-year time jump.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie is now 15, and she pops out a little Antichrist. Basically.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole reason why Michael Myers has been doing this the whole time is that there's a druid-like cult that they cursed Michael Myers to kill his bloodline. Why? Reasons. Hi, Chris. I'm here too. Whatever. But I'm always here, so she's the new sidekick. She's the other sidekick.
I gotta come up with a cool sidekick name.
You do. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So Tommy Doyle, the little boy that Laurie Strode babysat all the way back in Halloween 1, which at this point is like 17 years ago. It has come back, and he saves the day. So through various different things, he saves the kids, and there's an explosion or some ridiculousness, and Michael's mask is found just laying on the floor, and Dr. Loomis is screaming, but nobody knows what happened to either one of them. So it ends on a complete cliffhanger-y weirdness, and we don't know what happened to the 2 main characters that have been here.
I respect in this one the attempt to answer some questions about, the whys and the whos, and tying it back to the other movies. The effort was definitely there, and some of the answers were unsatisfactory.
Dumb.
Really dumb.
Really, really dumb. And this is the one with Paul Rudd too. He was the only good part of that movie, because who doesn't love Paul Rudd? And if you say that you don't love Paul Rudd, you can stop watching my show, because I don't want your business. Paul Rudd's amazing.
Yes, but that was aggressive.
It was aggressive, and sometimes we have to be aggressive.
For Paul Rudd, okay.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, Curse of Michael Myers ends the Loomis timeline. So,
I'm trying.
equitable. So the Loomis timeline has ended, which is great. Are you ready to retcon half that shit? Because that's what happens in August 5th of 1998. H2O comes out. I really like H2O.
You do?
I do. It's a fun, goofy 90s slasher.
Yeah.
It's not a masterpiece. It's it's top 5 Halloween movies. There's 16 Halloween movies, so it's in the top third. I'll give it. It retcons 4, 5, and 6. So if you don't want to watch the stupidity of psychic connections and druid death cults, just watch H2O.
I think they can be fun sometimes, you know.
So
death cult.
So now we have Halloween 1. So in the Laurie 1 timeline, Halloween 1 from 1978, Halloween 2 from 1981, where Loomis and Michael are presumed dead, and then time jump to 1998 with Halloween 20 years later, to which Laurie faked her death, having a car accident shortly after Halloween 2. She is now, Loomis just died of old age. He didn't actually die in the fire. Neither did Michael. We don't know what happened to them. And she runs a boarding school now. And Josh Hartnett is her kid. And if you don't know who Josh Hartnett is, you obviously aren't from the 90s. Because he was everyone in the 90s. He was everywhere. Like, he was... The Dawson kids were the only people that were everywhere, that were more places than him. But yeah, so Josh Hartnett was her son. We go through, and LL Cool J was a very cool security guard in this one. And
we love his cameo.
He's
a good cameo.
I mean, he wasn't even a cameo. He was like a straight up character.
Yeah.
Like, and he kicked ass in it.
Yeah.
He was pretty solid.
He did everything that you're supposed to do in a situation like that.
Oh yeah,
you know?
no, he played the very good. Nope.
Yeah, exactly.
He did a very solid job. I was like, it wasn't one of those like, no, you're lame. Which, if you remember, at this time, LL Cool J kept on getting thrown into horror movies and somehow kept on surviving through them. Can't remember. Did he die in this one? I don't remember.
This is something that I watched recently.
I don't think he died in that one. I think he got like stabbed and like roll credits. He's fine.
Which goes to reemphasize, if you say no, you get out of there.
Nope.
Recognize the red flags. You're probably gonna survive better than the what was that noise? Let me go. Hello.
Yeah. I love. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a trope in horror movies real quick. We have the horror trope of the that went on for a very long time, where the minorities are the ones who get axed first.
Yes, because there's a very good reasoning behind that too.
Well, other than terrible reasons.
The one valid reason is if you let them survive long enough to be the second person killed or attempt to be the second person killed, they are going to see that the first person was killed and they are going to get out of there. You're not going to have the opportunity to kill them because they are very, very big on nope.
I do love that it is now flipped and we have started to get more minorities that are the final girl or final guy, because they're the only ones smart enough to look at and go, nope. And get the F out of there. Yeah. Jordan Peele's great movie from this last summer is straight up just called Nope.
It's a fantastic watch.
And it's great whenever he just like, nope.
Yeah.
Like it is that film is great. And only the old man movie projector is probably the funny, like, I'm gonna get the best shot ever, and we're like, yep, nope, that's crazy old white guy.
Yep.
And then Kiki Palmer and her brother are the only ones smart enough to be like, no, we're gonna stay inside and we're not gonna look at it.
Yep.
Because nope.
Nope.
Anyway, So yeah, that's what this show's all about.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Lori at the end of that one decapitates Michael Myers.
That's probably out of all of the series one of my favorite kills in it.
Whenever she, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
it is solid. It's a really good decapitation. So, like Michael Myers is dead, no head dead,
like
done.
However,
whenever movies make money,
got it.
movies get sequels.
Yep.
And that movie, since it retconned the stupid ones and brought back Lori, Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh, I got you, Jason. I'm about to tell you. So, Halloween Resurrection, which, if 4, 5, and 6 were bad, oh my God, this one is the worst. I will tell you, I can Resurrection.
I told you the camp thing, and
This
goes into like
if you're a camp person,
yeah. I'm a huge campy person,
okay.
And this one just made me laugh.
It does have very laughable moments. So I will tell you, with this one, I will give it recognition because it did something that a lot of things weren't doing yet at this time. It was fairly meta. At this point, the only real meta movie we had gotten was Spice World. Which is, whenever you go back and look at it as being a meta movie, Spice World is actually a very solid meta humorous movie. Yeah. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
Don't get me started on the Spice Girls. I won't be able to stop.
So Halloween Resurrection comes out July 12th, 2002. That's just a weird time for a Halloween movie to come out in July. I was living in Japan at this time. I saw this in a base theater. I mean, I saw most of these in theaters. Everything past, well, okay, so I saw H2O in theaters. I saw Resurrection in theater. Okay, anyway, doesn't matter what I've seen in theaters. I saw a lot of movies in theaters because I grew up in theaters. And then I worked in the theater for a long time. So, yeah. So, Jason, the way that Michael Myers comes back is that, so at this point, Jamie Lee Curtis was done. She was like, I don't want my entire career based around this craziness. I don't want to keep making these movies. I want to be done with this shit. So, after the opening credits, we see Miss Laurie Strode is in an insane asylum. And she is in an asylum because she decapitated a man. It wasn't her brother, Michael Myers. So it wasn't Mike that she decapitated. So she is in an asylum thinking that her long dead murderous brother is still hunting her. So she's in an asylum. Michael breaks into the asylum, chases her around. Somehow they end up on the roof, and in a very bad CGI fall, she falls off the roof and dies so that she can get the fuck out of this franchise. So fast forward a year, because Michael Myers has killed his sister, so it's time for Michael Myers to go home. And now, in 2002, we were at the infancy of the interwebs, and I don't even think YouTube was officially a thing yet at that point, or it just was. Actually, no, I think it just was.
It just was, yeah. It's early days.
Yeah. So, so there is a show, an online show called Dangertainment. Again, it's 2002. I'm sorry, children. So some college kids are going to go on this show, and they're going to make a bunch of money if they can spend one night in the haunted house that Michael Myers grew up in. Jason, we're going to get there.
We'll get there. I'm very excited to actually.
So they stay in the Michael Myers house. Guess what, kids? Michael Myers shows up and starts picking them off one by one. But this is kind of cool because everybody has like head cams and hidden cams all over the place, so they get to see it, and it's all broadcast of Michael Myers killing them. People think it's just entertainment, but it's not. But Michael Myers is actually killing people. And they set the house on fire to take down Michael Myers, or an accident or some shit, whatever. They're burning down the house. Busta Rhymes is in this. And as great as LL Cool J was in H2O is as terrible as Busta Rhymes is in Resurrection. He kung fu kicks Michael Myers in the face.
It's funny.
It's hilariously bad. That is the only notable moment of that movie. I'm sorry, but like,
it's a solid, like, not unintentional B movie.
Yes, it is a big minute. It is a big budget B movie.
Yeah.
None of the, I mean, and there were some big name actors. Not even for the day, but people that became big name actors. Busta Rhymes was like, that's how they sold us Resurrection, was Busta Rhymes. If you don't say it right, you can't say Busta Rhymes. You have to say Busta Rhymes.
I can say Busta Rhymes however I want.
Fair, you're right. But so they burn down the house with Michael Myers inside. They think he's dead. He gets toted off by the ambulance, and then whenever the coroner's about to do his autopsy,
creepy, like,
sits off. Cut to black, and that is the end of the Laurie 1 timeline, and that was in July of 2002. So that's the end of our second timeline. Well, technically, we talked about Halloween 3, so third timeline of the Halloween films. Next, for timeline number 4, the Rob Zombie timeline.
Oh, I keep forgetting about that one.
The Rob Zombie timeline. In 2007, we got a Rob Zombie movie. And if you have ever watched a Rob Zombie movie, they're gross. They're gross in a sometimes okay way, but Michael was that. I'm sure he does. He's got shot like countless times in the chest and stomach. So, but the Rob Zombie 2007 Rob Zombie movie reboots Michael Myers' whole story and gives us the backstory of a child that is neglected, abused, and descending into wackiness. So opening scene, same thing happens, but his parents are not just nice. They're disgusting, horrible, redneck, sweary, just gross people. Mommy is Sherry Moon Zombie, because it's a Rob Zombie movie, and at least she wasn't Laurie. So kills sister, goes to the asylum, and he basically is raised in the asylum, breaks out and goes to hunt down his baby sister, Laurie, and try to kill her. And it's essentially the same format of the original film. It's much gorier, much bloodier, much there are some great acting moments. There are some great cameos. There is, all in all, I honestly will say the first Halloween, Rob Zombie Halloween, is a solid retelling. It's definitely not better than the original. It's definitely not as good as the original, but I call it a solid gore slasher.
I give it points for gore and blood. Yeah, definitely. So the shock factor is increased in that one opposed to the other ones.
Also, it has Danny Trejo in it. And anything that has Danny Trejo in it gets at least
automatically give it some points.
It gets points for Danny Trejo.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And he was nice in it, and then Michael Myers kills him, which also kind of detracts from, because Michael Myers is not an indiscriminate killing machine. He has reasons. Like, he doesn't kill children. He doesn't kill nice people. He kills people that are being neglectful of other people. So knowing the mentality of him, the one person that I would see him not killing is Danny Trejo, because he was nice to him the whole time. Like, they show him like being the nice guard as he grows up, and like, here's your mask.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of out of context. But anyway, super gory, super gross, but quality film. And then that leads us into Rob Zombie Halloween 2 in 2009, which is top 5 worst movies I've ever watched. It's bad.
I can agree. It's pretty bad.
It's the worst Halloween movie, and I'm counting the Crazy Blood Cult and Psychic Connections.
Because those were fun. This one was just bad.
Yeah. So in the first movie, like, Sherry Moon Zombie like dies of like drug overdose or some BS like that, because they make her out to be a very gross character. So the second movie, she returns as a Force ghost. I mean, and with a white horse guiding Michael Myers through like, Halloween 2 has one redeeming quality. One and only one. At the party that Laurie goes to, where Michael starts picking off teenagers, there is an exceptional rockabilly band called Captain Klieg and the Night Creatures, which is a bomb-ass rockabilly album. You can get it on iTunes. It's still in my rotation. I will listen to that shit in the middle of May. It's not even a Halloween album to me. I love it. Every single song, there's like 12 tracks. Every one of them is based on like old freaking 1950s like B horror sci-fi movies. There's Captain Demon and the Robot Girl or some shit like that. It's like no, it's got some bangers on it. Like as the kids say that word still, right? I'm not allowed to say that. It's okay. But if you like rockabilly music at all, Captain Klieg and the Night Creatures, that is the only reason why that movie gets 1 star. That's it. 1 star, and it's purely based on a throwaway band, which they actually did a single for this Halloween. Like, I was shocked. Like, I haven't seen anything from them, and then it popped up, and they were like, hey, you like Captain Klieg? They got a new song. Yeah, so the first time in 13 years, they dropped a Halloween song on us. So I was kind of it was kind of delightful. It's not as good as the album, but it's still really solid rockabilly. So yeah, that's the only redeeming factor of that movie. Otherwise, it's fucking trash.
Yeah, it's really, really, really
bad. So that's the end of that timeline. Timeline number 4. Now, are we ready for timeline number 5? And this is the one that everyone came here to talk about.
This is the new one.
Timeline number 5 is Laurie timeline number 2. And Laurie timeline number 2 includes Halloween 1, 1978, and nothing else counts at all. Skip 2, skip 4, 5, 6, H2O, Resurrection, none of it counts. It does not matter. So at the end of Halloween, we see Michael Myers get shot 6 times, fall out the freaking thing, and then disappear. Gone. And Laurie becomes a crazy hermit survivalist living in a like super booby-trapped house where we all question her sanity, but she's somehow not locked up. Everything's cool. Michael Myers gets caught at some point in the past and ends up in an asylum, and some nosy freaking reporters show up to make a book, movie, something, and it angers him, and because they have his mask somehow, he breaks out of the asylum, hunts them down, kills them, takes his mask, and goes on a killing spree.
Woo.
So pretty solid, actually. I thought it was a great return. The fact that we retconned everything like okay, so this is the timeline. This is the timeline. You don't have to like see it, but just know that the great thing about that movie is that it cut everything. Like it cut all of that. That's all that matters. Yeah. But anyway, so with that one, solid retconning, solid story, solid kills. There were some goofy ones.
Yeah. It stepped back into like actually like I feel like good storytelling, but still maintaining a good like camp ratio to it.
Yes, it did have a very good camp ratio to it. Was that the one where he stabs the lady with the fluorescent light, or is that the next one? And they like kill it with a drone. I think that's the next one.
We'll get there. I
think that's the next one. Okay. Anyway, so Halloween 2018, really, really solid entry that retconned everything except for the first movie, and it also retconned the familial connection. So Laurie's no longer his sister. She's just a person that she's a babysitter that he tried to kill that couldn't kill. So now he wants revenge for being in prison or for the asylum for the last 40 years. Yeah. Whatever. Sure. I mean, I figure if I tried to kill you in 40 years, I'm stuck in a crazy house in a padded room, then
if I get the opportunity to try again, I'm probably gonna try.
I'll probably take another swing. Yeah. So she builds her murder house, and he comes in and tries to murder, and she traps him in the basement and sets it on fire, and she's escaping with her daughter and her granddaughter, who there was also some nice little I think it was bloatware in the story about everybody thinking she's crazy, but it kind of does establish her as kind of a crazy lady. And her daughter's like, "You ruined my life," and her granddaughter's like, "I really want to love you," and like, so but yes, so she traps him in the basement of her murder house and sets it on fire, and they drive away bloodied in the back of a pickup truck as the ambulance and fire trucks pass them. Cut to credits. And we were supposed to get a sequel in 2019. However, we didn't.
Yep.
So we were supposed to get it in 2020. However, COVID.
Things happen.
So we're supposed to get it in 2021. And we finally did.
And we did.
So in 2021, we get Halloween Kills. I think it's the worst. I think that in the order of shittiest Halloween movies, 6, Rob Zombie 2, and then Kills. Because Kills as a movie starts very strong.
Yes, yeah.
I am
hated the
so I feel that the Laurie 2 story, this final trilogy, the opening of 2 was great. It was great. Like I said, it starts strong. I think that this movie suffered from the Hobbit, what I call the Hobbit complex. You don't need 3 movies to tell this story. You just didn't.
Yeah.
You added so much shit in it whenever you made a satisfying conclusion, and then you undid the conclusion.
Yeah.
I mean, he has some epic kills. He goes on a rampage, but the freaking Tommy Doyle again to save the day. And the townspeople hunt him down and want to kill him. And they have him surrounded, and everybody has weapons, and everybody knows he's here. And you're like, it's done. We're gonna end this.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. I skipped the wacky hospital part. But okay, so basically, yeah. Bus of crazy murderers wrecks. Several crazy murderers, including Michael, escapes. One of them gets captured and taken to the hospital because he's all jacked up. And the town people, in their crazy, we want to kill Michael Myers, hunt down the obviously not Michael Myers crazy person and throw him out of a window.
Yep.
While chanting, "Evil dies tonight. Evil dies tonight." It's weird.
I feel like it's realistic.
I'm not saying that it's not realistic. In a small town, especially, that would happen. In a big town, in a big town, that's Tuesday.
Yeah.
But in a small town, I would not be surprised to see that happen in a small town.
Yeah.
Haddonfield is also one of the weirdest towns because it's a tiny town when you need it to be a tiny town, but it's a huge town whenever you need it to have mine shafts and its own freaking hospital with a burn wing and just. It's weird.
Yep.
But there's 4 cops in the entire department, but it's anyway. They got one bar and one, but they have their own, news station.
You gotta make the story.
It's wacky. But yeah, so Evil Dies Tonight goes on entirely too long. Throw the dude out the window. They don't even care that they killed the wrong person. And then they go hunting down for the right person. And then we get the scene where they have Michael all surrounded and we're going to kill him. And
I mean, they kill him.
No, they don't.
They don't kill him.
No, they miserably fail. Like,
I thought it was,
they start to beat him down, and you think he's dead, but they let up for a second, and then he fucking gets his Michael Myers superpower and just starts wrecking house and kills them all. You know, if you would have killed him right there, I would have been like satisfying into the movie. Yeah, we had that weird Evil Dies Tonight part, but I can excuse that. But we wrapped up the story in a nice tight bow. The town people were the ones who finished him off, and the town can begin to heal. It was a perfect ending point for it.
Yeah.
There was some there were some things in it that were a little weird, but it was a good ending point.
Yeah,
But we were under contract for a trilogy, so we have to make a 3rd movie.
Yeah. And then they forced it. So
They forced him to not die and they forced a third movie. And the third movie, Halloween Ends, in 2022, which came out like 3-4 weeks ago, made a lot of people super angry.
Yeah. I like it as a standalone.
It didn't make me angry.
Yeah. I like
it is a better standalone, I will say.
Yeah.
But since we have the shit stain that is Halloween Kills,
Yeah.
we've got to wrap it up somehow.
Yeah.
So Michael escapes. He's living in the sewer, eating rats and turds or whatever he's doing down there. Yeah, Michael's unkillable until they neuter him. But yeah, so Michael Myers, he's living in the sewer, living with the sewer rats, and this bullied kid comes across him, and for some reason Michael doesn't kill him, and now he sees the torture, and it's weird.
Weird. It's their connection is very weird to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like that. I like the movie. I didn't like it.
It was weird. This weirdo becomes like all intertwined and loves Laurie's granddaughter, so they have that connection, and they almost start to seem like they're going to go on a natural born killers spree, like some Bonnie and Clyde shit's about to happen. It doesn't, which I think if it did, that would be a kind of cool twist.
I would have kind of liked that.
Because now she's crazy too.
Yeah.
But ultimately, kid goes crazy and starts killing people with Michael Myers and helping Michael Myers.
Oh, I mean, it's not like he didn't have experience in that.
Yeah.
Even if it was an accident.
It was an accident.
It was an accident.
It's really true. It was.
That was probably my favorite modern kill that I've seen in a while.
Yes.
Even with it being a complete accident, the
kid.
shock factor of it.
I would say the shock factor of the opening kill, the opening scene in the movie.
I had to pause, and I was like, I just get started.
So so these are all spoilers for the newest movie.
Yeah,
so if you haven't watched it, it's on Peacock. Quit being lazy.
Just watch it.
Or get yourself a torrent site.
Just watch it.
I didn't say that. We do not endorse the illegal downloading of movies at Geek Out. Just watch it. It's on Peacock. Peacock's running a special right now where it's like $2 a month for the next year. We only have 10% left.
Yeah.
So we got kind of ramped up.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
So basically, dude's babysitting a shithead kid. Shithead kid's being a shithead kid. Shithead kid locks him in a door at the top of some stairs. Dude kicks door open. Shithead kid falls over a banister and goes splat. He
goes
in a very, very graphic way.
It was so bad.
I was surprised they did it that graphic. I mean, obviously the kid was going to die once we realized that's a banister and he can't get out. That dude's going to kick this door open and the kid's going to tumble. It's obvious what's going to happen. I did not expect them to show us it happen.
Yeah.
Mom and dad walk in as kid is going splat, and it's just blood curdling. Yeah. All they hear is "I'm gonna kill you," and then kid goes splat. It was
rough.
It was very rough. And
fantastic.
And then the movie just gets rougher and rougher from there.
Yeah.
In not a good way.
No.
I will say it was different. They did something different. I'm not mad at it. I think that movie was unnecessary. They should have ended with Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
But regardless, throughout the movie, we get in the good old cat and mouse game, and eventually, they trap and kill Michael Myers, and then they kill Crazy Kid that was helping Michael Myers, in an unspectacular way.
Yeah.
So if they decide they want to keep this going, I got a feeling that kid ain't dead.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't.
Hopefully they don't. That would be so freaking dumb.
Let them rest.
Let it go. It's over. But then they take Michael Myers and they throw him in a freaking metal grinder.
And as much of a villain as he is, as much as he's killed other people, I think he deserved a more dignified death. I would have rather the townspeople beat him to death slowly and he'd take that very strong. They throw him in a grinder. Yeah,
it was pretty impressive. Like those things at the freaking Yeah, this place has its own freaking junkyard complete with metal recycling.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, again, this wacky town is big when it needs to be big and small when it needs to be small. You throw them in the freaking metal grinder.
Yeah, I get they wanted to be sure. I would have wanted to be sure too, but I would have just like, I don't know, autopsy. Like,
Nah, you could have burned him. You could have like dismembered him.
I mean,
but I mean,
the burning.
but I mean, this was pretty definite. I mean, Michael Myers is dead.
Yes.
Crazy granddaughter goes back to being normal, I guess, and Lori writes a book about how the war, a memoir about how don't let the evil and scare take away your life. It's ooh, yep, no, this is
it was weak for an ending for such a
it
iconic
was
series.
So it was a pretty weak ending. If they would have finished kills in the Towns Pearson beatdown, would have been a perfect ending.
Yeah.
Would have been over. Ends wouldn't have been necessary.
Yeah.
But when you pay for a trilogy, you get a trilogy. So that's the Halloween series. It has some brilliant movies. It has some shiny turds, and then it has some not so shiny turds. So Emery, what's your favorite Halloween movie?
Let me look at them real quick. Yeah, I think of this.
See, normally whenever we have like lots of movies like this, we get to actually like break down and be like, this person was a better actor and this person was a better actor in that part. Now there are like so many people that played the Shape. Like if you ever get a chance to watch the great movies that made us, movies that made us on good old Netflix, with the story about, so Michael Myers is just called the Shape in the first few movies, and the Shape is played by whoever wasn't doing anything on set during the first movie. It was kind of funny. Like 4 or 5 people played him. It was great.
I just there's
only one correct answer.
It's the first one.
Yeah.
Everything else, like I have things that I like about them, but as far as like writing goes, I have a bone to pick with every single one of them.
Fair. What's the worst one?
Ooh.
We'll go ahead and knock the Rob Zombie ones out of contention.
Okay, so in saying that this is the worst one, I'm also gonna say it has a special place in my heart still, but Season of the Witch. It's the worst objectively.
Okay, so we're gonna pull so Rob Zombie and Season of the Witch. They have nothing else.
I have to keep the main storyline.
Is Lori 1 or Lori 2? What's the worst one?
I'm gonna go with. I'm not a fan of 4. Return of Michael Myers.
Fair. 4's pretty bad.
Yeah, it just wasn't really memorable for me. Again, like with the bones to pick, that's probably the one I've watched the least overall. I've seen all of them at least twice, but that one probably, I think that was a one and done for me.
I would say even with Paul Rudd, 6 is probably the worst.
Paul Rudd.
Even with Paul Rudd, I love Paul Rudd, and he's the only reason why that movie gets 1 star. Otherwise, it gets -1 star.
I kind of like when they do like a little modern twist.
It was wacky. I would say Resurrection is probably the worst made one. Resurrection is, but it did have some original things in Resurrection. Yeah. So, as a whole, Halloweens are all solid. Most of them are worth watching again, except. Okay, no, that's not true. Not even no.
Some of them I watch.
In my rewatch of some of these that I haven't seen in a very long time, because I knew we were doing this, and I was sick at one point. I had the vid earlier in October, so I rewatched some movies that I never planned on rewatching. Yep.
I'm not even gonna lie. I just rewatched the Jamie Lee Curtis
timeline. 4, 5, and 6 are well, like I remember H2O and Resurrection very, very vividly. I watch those lots. One I rewatch at least once every 2 years.
Yeah. It's a classic. That's one that
Two
goes
also gets watched
icon,
every
so.
3 to 4 years, and the new ones are new. 4, 5, and 6 were the only ones that weren't just fresh in my brain. So I rewatched those, and yeah,
not
I
great.
feel like my brain, I feel like I am dumber for watching them again. So skip the Loomis timeline, go with Laurie 1 timeline. Oh yeah, there will be no memorial of Michael. Writes a
We're
book.
talking about.
Yep. Yep. Laurie timeline 1 is probably the best timeline of the complete. Like, you got Halloween, Halloween 2, H2O, and Resurrection. That is the most cohesive, enjoyable set of the
I
timeline.
agree to that. As far as like entertainment value.
Entertainment value, that's the most entertaining. Laurie timeline number 2 is probably the best story.
Yeah.
And the Loomis timeline is batshit fucking crazy.
It's just ridiculous.
It's so dumb.
It's really bad.
If you never watch it, you have not wasted. So not a waste of time, 2 hours. Not a waste of time, 2 hours. 2, 4, 6. So another 6 hours. So save 6 hours of your life. Never watch 4, 5, and 6 if you haven't already watched them. I told you all the important parts, and none of them are important parts. We have wasted your time. No, just kidding. Actually, this is a pretty decent way. Rob Zombie, watch the first one. Pass on the second one. Go to iTunes and download Captain Cleek and the Night Creatures, and you will have all of the good things about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. But yeah, stick to the Laurie 1 timeline. You'll enjoy it a lot more. It's a lot more fun.
Worth it.
Even with Buster Rhymes kicking Michael Myers.
Especially with Buster Rhymes kicking Michael Myers.
Buster Rhymes.
Come on, that's the highlight.
Kicking Mike. Yep. No, stick with Laurie number 1. Pass on Loomis. Watch Laurie number 2 if you want to be up to date with all of the angry people on the internet.
I'm not that angry.
I'm not angry about it too. I'm angry about
I'm
angry about kills. I'm not angry about ends.
Yeah.
Not excited. No, I think I'll go back and watch Laurie number 1 again.
Just to get the entertainment back.
Just to make it all good. Well, do you have anything else to talk about? What do you want to do next week, Miss Emory?
Okay, so we've been talking about it a lot at work, and I've definitely been on a kick about it. So how do you feel about doing like a found footage one?
Found footage one. Okay. So we'll do some found footage stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we want to do a specific found footage series, or do we want to just talk about a few of them, or what do you want to do in the found footage genre?
That's a hard question. So
I mean, we can talk about some Paranormal Activity. That can be a show by itself. We can talk about Hell House LLC.
I'm gonna have to at least talk about Hell House.
Okay, fine. So
I feel like that's a very underrated one for what it is.
It is. So those of you that don't know, in my spare time, we talked to you last night about the fact that I had a paranormal investigation team, and we have the Paranormal Channel, and me and one of the guys who has a team in Virginia. Every year we do a Halloween October Madness to determine the best Halloween movies. And last year, the first inaugural year, Sinister won, and it was just, hey, what's your favorite? This year we did genres, and Hell House LLC won purely out of spite. I won't even lie, it was spite. I was mad that Sinister beat Thing last year, so I voted against Sinister, even though it's scarier. But Hell House LLC is very much quality. Found footage has actually not died, Chris. The advent of a billion streaming services has actually gotten it going pretty strong, and there's actually been some really solid ones that never got any kind of like publicity.
Yeah.
Hell House LLC is one of those great found footage films.
With 2 follow-ups, like modern twists on them, especially with like Zoom, with COVID. There was that. What was the one with over Zoom?
You got that's called Host.
The Host.
You've got Unfriended was pretty solid. Yeah, well, the first one's better than Dark Web. I like Dark Web. Dark Web, I was surprised.
The first one was scary.
Yes, the first one was scary. Dark Web, I heard was bad, so I watched it anyway. And yeah, you want to tell me a horror movie's bad? No, shit. 90% of horror movies are not good movies.
Yeah.
Work here for fun.
Yeah.
So just so you know, what we're rambling, I told you we have like 10% battery, so we just disappear.
We did.
And as we've learned, if I plug in power, on this to keep it going, it fucks with the audio. So if we just go, we just go. So
It's accurate in the horror.
Yeah.
Talk by dying.
Pretty much. Michael Myers did not kill us though, because he apparently is in a wood chipper.
Where's the scene?
Scene.
God, I hope so. I
He
can't
better be fucking dead.
do it anymore.
I mean, that shit kid better not come back, because if they replace Michael Myers with that,
Yeah? No.
but yeah, if they replace Michael Myers with that shit bag, I'm gonna be, yeah, we're done. We're done. Anyway, but yeah, so some found footage. We'll decide which found footage series we want to discuss between now and then.
If y'all want to recommend any in the comments, check it out later.
Sure, yeah.
What do you found footage?
I mean,
Mostly about Blair Witch.
we'll mention Blair Witch, but we're not going to talk about Blair Witch.
It's just
I think there's more. I think there's more movies about Blair Witch than there are about Halloween.
Yeah.
So yeah, more of these things have been about Blair Witch than have been about Halloween. So I think we can pass on a Blair Witch show.
Well, it's very yeah, exactly. Just out of acknowledgement to Blair Witch, but no, not the whole show.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do the Zoom style ones.
I enjoy that. I don't know because yeah, and I feel like it's been a really, really cool twist. There's like it's not a horror. I'm not gonna look up what it's called again, but there was a one completely from like a laptop screen or computer screen where it's thriller, not necessarily horror. But his daughter goes missing, and he's just going through trying to figure out what happened to her through the laptop, so like archives and stuff like that. And it's really like deep and sad.